When it was better than any fool that feel down.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Comic Convo. Today I'll be talking about the new release posters of The Amazing Spider-Man and The Dark Knight Rises. Also, I'll be discussing a couple of new comic books that came out recently. So as I said, we have new images from both the new Batman and the new Amazing Spider-Man film, both of which are seemingly quite dark. I'll put them up in the video now. You just get a flash of them as I'm talking. Both, as I said, are quite dark. The Amazing Spider-Man looks fantastic. I like the iconography of it with the logo in there, and also Bane walking away from a shattered cowl of Batman in The Dark Knight Rises does look very good. Does it mean we're going to get a Nightfall / broken back scenario? We don't know. We know it's going to be set 8 years since The Dark Knight. So what does that mean? The Amazing Spider-Man, not really much from the poster, but it does have the tagline Untold Story. Not many people sure what that's going to entail, whether it's about Peter's parents, whether we're going to hear about them and their story, or does this tie in somehow to the Raimi franchise? We don't know. Have to wait and see. That doesn't come out until next year. Same with The Dark Knight Rises. So we've got a while to see, but these posters are quite interesting and I would like them up on my wall. So the first comic I'm going to talk about today is Spaceman #2, written by Brian Azzarello with art by Eduardo Rizzo and the beautiful cover by Dave Johnson there. As I said, this is the second issue. First issue came out last month and was $1. So if you're not picking this up, then you should go at least try that, because you can't go wrong for $1. It's the same team who are famous for doing 100 Bullets, so if you're familiar with that, but you're not picking this up, then you should try it. Like I said, first issue is $1. So it's a story about spacemen who were on a mission to Mars. It's being told through flashbacks. So there's this character, Orson, who was on a mission to Mars, and we're filling that story in as we go along. But he's also in this dystopian future where there's a lot of text speak. The one criticism a lot of people have had about this book is that it's quite hard to read due to Brian Azzarello's writing of it. It's quite text speak or future slang. But once you get into it, it's not that hard. You just have to try and figure out what they're saying through the context of what they're talking about, and then you get an idea of what they're saying, so that's okay. This book is fantastic. The ending has a nice little twist, which I'm not going to reveal, but if you've been reading it, then you know, and it's quite nice. It's not really a twist, but it shows, it sets up where they're going with this series and how it's going to play out. I highly recommend this. I'm enjoying it a lot. And the art, as I said, Eduardo Rizzo's got a wonderful style, quite silhouette-y. So the second book that I'm reviewing today is another #2, Uncanny X-Men #2. This is the second since the Regenesis, the relaunch after Schism. It's written by Kieran Gillen. The last issue ended off with a big sort of reveal as Mr. Sinister's returned and he's sort of taken over this islandy thing for himself, with lots of his little clones, I guess. And this sort of carries on with the X-Men fighting those clones off. Not a big fan of Sword and the Green Woman, loads of green. Not a fan of that sort of spacey stuff with the X-Men. Mr. Sinister's an interesting character. I like what they did, referring back to my favourite interpretation of him, which is him as this little Victorian child who decided to get that look and name of Mr. Sinister because he's a kid. It seems to make more sense because he's actually quite a ludicrous character if you were to think of him as a real person. I believe that more. I was kind of plodding along with this and I wasn't enjoying it too much, but then actually once I got into it a bit more, towards the end I was actually quite interested with all the Sinisters being killed, and it's like, oh, we're a hive, a collective mind, and everyone is sinister, everything is sinister. So that's going to be quite big in this, I guess, this little arc with Mr. Sinister. But this actually seems to be going quite well. It's not as strong as Spaceman. I highly recommend Spaceman, but this is a good #2, and it's a good, again, it's a good jumping on point for X-Men because it's just recently relaunched. So you can get into that quite easily. So those are my reviews for this week. Please let me know what you're reading, what you think of the books, and please subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Cheers, and see you next week.